Hey, welcome to the Northeast Hunt and Film podcast. I'm your host, Jason Alex. Here you'll find hunting stories and strategies based mainly out of the Northeast, but will also include hunts from all around the country. If you can hunt it and you can film it, chances are we're going to talk about it on here. Enjoy. All right, we're live. Another episode of Northeast Hunt and Film. Down in Suburbia today.
Down in Suburbia land?
Suburbiaville with Pat Guyette from the Hunt Suburbia podcast. We're doing a little collaboration on my first suburban deer season eve. I haven't hunted Massachusetts a lot over the years. I mainly just chase snow. This year I started like bow hunting and stuff, and Pat invited me down to go to some of his spots, and
it's pretty good hunting. And we were talking about it on my podcast a little bit, but I've had luck with people. Anytime there's like a first time for something, you know, I've met my friend Chris. The first time I met him, I shot my first racked buck with a bow down here. Then I brought him to Vermont. He had only been in, dropped him a pin on where to go, where I knew there was a fresh scrape, and he sat there for, I think, 45 minutes or an hour, and he shot a nice 6-pointer. His first time ever in Vermont, first buck there.
We're going to like build you into some sort of guide.
This is a weird first time guide only. A second time, you're not going to get anything.
Yeah,
it has to happen the first day. Because then I brought Scotland, although no, Scotland was the second day, but brought him to Vermont to hunt for the first time.
He killed a 6-pointer.
He killed a 6-pointer that weekend, the first weekend he ever hunted. Second day, he got a nice 6-pointer. And then I got my dad down here and got his first deer with a bow last year too. So sometimes there's some good juju on the first time, you know. And you are a mass virgin, so.
Yep, and that Woodman Arms Patriot's a virgin too, other than that coyote, but
that's different than an ass virgin for those keeping track at home.
Yeah. No comment. I'm from Vermont. Do what I want. Yeah. No, but that dude, like I said, on yours, it's been a. I hate to be like a Debbie Downer or whatever, but I've been struggling. Like, a lot of people might be riding the struggle bus. I'm driving that son of a bitch. You all might be passengers, but I'm piloting that thing this year. It's just been just one, like, what the after another.
So how many hours you think you've put in this year hunting? Break it down, like, hours, and how many deer have you seen?
Hours, I'm just gonna go with even numbers. I have no idea. It's mainly weekends. Yeah. I haven't had a lot of like vacation time. The days I've been taking vacation with, I've been with Timmy. Just say 100.
Yep.
Say 100 hours.
Yep.
I don't know. Could be more.
8 bobcats.
Yeah, 8 bobcats, 3 black bear, and for the first like month of the season, I'm saying 30 deer. Yep. One I got an arrow into.
Yep.
And then just lights off. No, I'm not jumping them on the way in. I'm not jumping them on the way out. I hunt all day. I might change spots midday. I might be in the truck for an hour, but I'm mainly in the woods all day.
And you've been mainly stand hunting too, right? You went out tracking a
few
days.
Still hunting when available.
Yeah.
But during bow season, yeah.
Yeah, you're just in a little slump, dude. It's like.
Yeah.
But you're gonna break it tomorrow.
I am. Because Amy's like, if you don't come back with some deer meat, we're through.
Speaking of that, I got some thawing out there. We'll have to, after
we're going to fry that up.
Yeah, fry it up for sure.
She's threatened to break up with me if I don't come back with a deer. I'm just kidding.
Well, now that I know that.
She wouldn't do that because then she wouldn't have a turkey guide.
Yeah, you got her a nice turkey last year, huh? I still never killed a turkey.
She's turkey hunted for 2 years and she's killed 3.
So and she's
and she's missed. COVID got her a lot of time turkey hunting.
So how about this? If we're successful tomorrow and get you a buck down here, then you have to get me my first turkey.
Sold, but I get to film it.
Yeah, of course. All right, but you have to get me the weight of turkeys, the same weight of the deer that you shoot. So if you shoot a 200-pound deer,
I
you
got
got to
a
give me
21-pound buck?
10, 20-pound. No, you got to give me 10, 20-pound turkeys.
Okay. All right. We're going to be jacking them, folks, illegally.
No, it's just the next 10 years you got to get me a 20-pounder
gotcha.
every year.
All right. Yeah, no, she's hooked. It's cool to see too because she wasn't an anti, definitely a non-hunter.
Yeah.
Everybody in your family's like, "You did what?
You killed a turkey? Did she keep
you have a gun?"
Did she keep the beard or mount it anywhere?
She's got the fan and the hooks and the beard from the first one, which was 21 pounds. She'll correct me. It's 21.2 or something.
That's a heavy beard.
9-inch beard and inch spurs. He was a fighter too. His spurs were worn off. I think he was an older bird. And then the next year, she shot 2 jakes back to back. They came in together, and that's on film on my YouTube page. And now she's like, dude, it's game. She was a hunter and never knew it.
Is she
it
gonna get into deer
lived.
hunt?
She's been out.
Yeah.
She doesn't like it as much because she has ADD, and turkey hunting is interactive. And I'm not a ground blind hunter. I run and gun. I find the one that wants to play, and I hunt him.
Yeah.
I don't sit in a ground blind like knowing that sometime during around 10 o'clock turkey's going to work through here. I don't do that. So it's interactive for her, like it's nonstop.
You're hunting those turkeys like those boys do moose up in Maine,
exactly.
Right? Yep.
Find the one that wants to play.
Yep.
Or find the one that wants to die. Stephen Shan says.
That's great.
But yeah, she's and she's good too. She's like
she should go.
She sits stiller than me. Like she's better at it than me.
Has she met Andrea Bolduc yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they should go out hunting together.
Yeah, for sure.
You and Timmy watch the kids, and they go out hunting. Probably drag back couple 200-pounders.
Yeah.
You're good with kids. My kid liked you a lot today.
Yeah, he did. He was. Yeah. I look child size, so he could relate to me.
Yeah, he was smitten with you.
But so, I think your answer is probably more or less the same as mine. So what got you starting the podcast and getting into all that? How did that kind of play out for you?
COVID for sure was like the spur of
Okay,
it all.
never mind. It's different.
Yeah, like I love hunting so much, and I've always loved hunting. And like when I met my wife, I still remember like the first few dates and those conversations you're having and feeling each other out. And I was like, if you're gonna
keep it PG here, Pat.
Not feeling each other up, feeling them out.
Oh, out. All right.
And if you're gonna date me, just want to let you know, I gotta warn you.
I'm a big buck killer. My name is Pat Infault.
I'm a little buck killer, but I love hunting, and you're not gonna see me for 5 straight weekends, is what I told her. Because Vermont,
deer camp,
3 rifle weekends and then 2 muzzleloader. I never even bow hunted at that point, really. I had a bow, but I didn't bow hunt. And you're not going to see me for those 5 weekends. And yeah, I got that tradition, and going to deer camp is so awesome. And I'd never missed one of those, like for the last 15, 20 years, it was all those 5 weekends. Every time I'm there, and that's it. And don't ask me to go to a wedding. Don't, I'm not going anywhere except deer camp, right?
I hear you.
Now that was the obsession then, and she says I'm so much more obsessed now. I think I am because I added bow hunting in. I don't go to Vermont as much. I don't go those 5 weekends now. I try to stay closer to home. But
you still get up opening weekend, right?
Yep, I always get up opening weekend, and usually at least one more weekend in the year. I haven't been going muzzleloader. It's tough with a kid, hunting a little bit closer to home. But that turned in. So once I bought a house here in Central Mass, I was living in the city for the last 10 years, Boston, Somerville, Quincy. And so my escape was going to Vermont. And I would drive up and do those 5 weekends, and I'd get out of the city. But I didn't realize that you could hunt it never crossed my mind. I always thought Vermont deer camp's the only place to go. And
bigger woods,
but that handicapped me for years because I hunted the same place, and that was it. And there's a lot of small bucks there. There's a lot of competition. You know the whole story in Vermont. People shoot whatever comes by, but that was great and that was fine. And I loved shooting little 4-pointers and 6-pointers and stuff. But once I moved where I'm at, and you got a wife and you got kids on the way, you do have to try to stay a little bit closer to home. That by necessity, I was like, I need to now pick up this bow that I've had for a few years that I only played with in Vermont once or twice on a weekend at camp. And it's really hard to kill a deer with a bow at that camp. And I got to figure it out around home. So I started scouting around home, and COVID gave me the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, because you went from having to commute to working from home.
Yep, having to commute every single day, a couple hours, round trip, taking the T. And when I was working from home, now all of a sudden, all those hours in the morning, it's a freaking T, dude.
I've got lost in that thing coming back from Red Sox games so many times.
I don't miss that thing at all.
Anyway.
Oh my God, talk about a cesspool.
That might have been where COVID started.
Yeah, it was a ground zero.
There's all kind of bats. Never mind. We're not getting political.
If it was going to start in the T, it would be on the orange line. That thing was grimy. When I used to take that thing from Somerville to Boston, the orange line T is probably the grimiest T color there is, to be honest with you.
Everything was orange.
Actually, I remember when I moved from Somerville, and then when I was in Southie, I lived in Southie for a little bit. I didn't take the T ever. I would walk places. And then when I went to Quincy, the red line, that was a luxury compared to the orange line. You don't want. You
think of Quincy as the roughest part.
Well, now I'd look back and just all of it's gross. I don't want to be on that T. Screw that. But when I finally moved out here, I got a yard again, and I made sure.
Yeah, this is nice.
I made sure that I picked the house that we're gonna live in. There had to be woods. I wanted it to feel somewhat like Vermont, because I'd been living in a concrete jungle for 10 years, and I love the wilderness. And so we found this place, and you came in the dark, but you'll see it tomorrow. It's nice. At least there's some woods. There's woods around. There's a state park across the road.
Yeah.
There's some woods behind my house. I own 1.5 acres back there, and at least I got a yard, and it feels, I kind of feel more at home. But COVID opened up that morning and that afternoon, to be able to go out and just take walks and start scouting and putting up cameras and spending more time that I would have been wasting commuting. And so then I took all of that, starting to get into scouting a little bit more during COVID, getting outside also because you're just cooped up. And in the beginning, everybody was kind of freaking out. You're not seeing anybody else. So I was like, when else am I going to have this type of time and this excuse to really start learning more, right? So then I in my day job, I've sold podcast ads before. I've monetized sponsorships for a big company for the last 10, 11 years. I've done all of that stuff for other brands. But I'm pretty entrepreneurial, and I was like, it can't be that hard to learn how to do a podcast. I've been listening to podcasts for such a long time. I might as well start one and do it.
Yeah, my dumb ass can do it. And
I mean, there's a joke that
it's not rocket appliance.
Everybody and their brother and their sister and everybody's got their own podcast, right? But that's great. If you can start a podcast and don't ever get into it trying to make money off of it because you'll fail.
You'll fall on your face.
You have to do it if you just do it about something you're super passionate about, that you're going to get value out of doing it just by talking to people. My network is built incredibly from just doing the podcast. I've met some really great hunters. I've networked in with Big Woods Bucks and Chris Dalty. Chris helped me start this podcast, kind of how you picked my brain on your podcast a little bit and what equipment to buy and things like that. Chris gave me the basics on that. And dude, I've met so many good hunters and became such a much better hunter from starting it. But it all kind of goes back to COVID and giving me that extra time and saying, why shouldn't I start one right now about something I'm passionate about?
Yeah. That's kind of the reason I started it too, was you know, if you don't do it in this kind of like platform, you're just like blowing up Pat Burns' social media, asking him a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting him down in a environment that's kind of appropriate, and then his words can educate other people, and you're learning in the process, and then you do that with a bunch of great deer hunters.
Yep.
And like you said, you just network through them, and that was kind of my theory behind it, and it was in addition to my YouTube channel. Because I self-film mainly. The only, you know, get those turkey videos and stuff with Amy, and then the stuff I film for Big Woods. But for my own channel, like, self-filming's hard. It's hard to produce good content. I envy those guys like Shane Simpson. Those dudes who are like just badass self-filmers. Greg from the Hunting Public.
It also just kind of sucks to carry in all your equipment you're going to hunt with plus
40 pounds.
Yep. And then do all the stuff that you have to do, like, you know, climb a tree. And
it's for the love. It's for the love of the art. And it's got to be. I love, and people are going to call me crazy, but I love editing video. Sometimes I want to spike my computer off the wall.
Yeah.
But like when the finished product comes out and it's like, okay, that was solid.
Because it's an art.
It's an art, for sure, an art.
Like, I don't know how many people know, but I used to be a rapper. That's something that I had in common with Pat Burns, and that why me and Pat Burns click a lot, because Pat was a way more successful rapper than me too. I mean, Pat got signed, he got like deals signed, and he knows some super famous rappers, and he does video editing right now for rappers. I mean,
music videos and stuff.
Probably nobody knows who this is that's listening to this, but Saweetie, like, look up Saweetie, Saweetie. She is super famous. And Pat does all of her video edits and all of her social media videos and stuff. And I just met up with him the other day, and he was editing some stuff for her. But Pat, you know, when I realized that he was a rapper too, we kind of like, dude, we're both Pats. We're both confused because we were like former rappers, but we're also like outdoorsmen and hunters, and it's weird. But learning, like, I used to produce my own albums, and I taught myself GarageBand and how to edit sound and all of that stuff. And that's
GarageBand. That's a throwback.
Oh yeah, I did all my stuff on GarageBand when I was in college, and learning all of that stuff and the video editing and that really helps you appreciate the art behind video editing.
See, I took it was called digital editing. It was a program that high school I went to. It was like a career center elective, and me and my buddies made some like skateboard videos and stuff.
Yeah.
But I always filmed everything, you know, skating, and I'd like make my dad film like my dirt bike races and stuff. And then I just like got away from it for quite a while. And then I got into hunting, and it was like, this is perfect. Like, I can just go out and like film what I'm doing and have something to edit, you know. It just all kind of came back.
Yeah, it's incredible content. And there's so much you can do with it. And we were talking too, like tracking content.
Yeah.
In my opinion, tracking content's so much better than bow hunting content because there's so much more action. You know, the scenery is constantly changing. Hunting Public does really great with bow hunting content because they're aggressive and they're on the ground and moving around and stuff, right? So, but
I think they're at the top of the. I know they don't have the same subscribers as like Seek One or whatever, but their content's light years ahead of anybody's.
I like theirs better than Seek One because, you know,
they're more relatable. They're just dudes.
Yeah,
just dudes out being dudes.
And there is something about Seek One. There's something about when every deer you kill is 180 to 200 inch deer that it takes away from, you know, if somebody killed a 180 inch deer up here on film, you know, you're not doing that every single year.
No.
These guys are, you know, and it's nothing against them. They have awesome content. I love watching it, but there is something about it. Like when every video they put out is like 183 inch, you know, Georgia suburb monster. Right. That it kind of loses.
I love the speaking of the art part of it, like I love it, like the Like if you show me like a 4K video, you know what I mean? Like I love that like really crispy stuff. Like the mountain deer guys, those guys put out like they
really
put
good.
those DSLRs to work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it's appropriate, they're getting really
I love their
crispy,
page. Yeah,
good bokeh, like all the whole nine. Like I think Taylor does most of that. He really knows what he's doing. But yeah, I love that, like the look of it, like that really crispy,
very
high definition,
cinematic, and
I don't care. Like, ooh, it looks fake. Show me it. I want it to look faker. I want 8K. I want it to look like I'm there.
Since when does like the real or something mean that looks fake? You know what I mean?
A hater's gonna hate, man.
Yeah, fake news.
A hater's gonna hate. But so you've had a good year.
Yeah, it's been a really cool year. I'm just watching this now because we're down on one battery level, and I don't want it to happen what happened to us before.
Well, we'll pause and switch them out.
Yeah, well, let's do that real quick.
So let's talk about your bucks.
Yeah, what do you want to know?
Two little small ones.
They're a couple little guys. The first one this year was nice 8-pointer that I had him on camera starting in May, just from nubs. And I was just talking as we were switching the batteries out. I love having a summer camera or a couple. 2 different summering areas that I found out last year, right? I've got one camera in one of them, and they're different bucks that are summering in them. Although they're not too far away, but I get different groups. And this other area that I just found this year, this buck was showing up, and he was there in May. And you can tell because pretty much from what I figured out, most deer, what their brow tines are early on, their brow tines grow first.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it stays, right? And then everything else grows out. But you can tell, like, his brow tines look just like that in the end of May.
So he was easily identifiable.
Yeah, he's got curved out brow tines, and I knew it was him. And then you just watch him grow all summer, and it's great. And he turns into this awesome deer. And I put mineral out. I was talking with a Massachusetts wildlife biologist when I checked in my second deer this year, my second buck. I went to the headquarters of Mass Wildlife because I just wanted to get an official weight. He was a big deer. I wanted to get the official weight. And I was sitting there talking with him. We had an interesting conversation about a lot of stuff, but one of the things that he was saying is, mineral definitely does. He says, my buddy Mark in Vermont was the first person to say, just put some mineral down in the summer. It's going to add 10 or 15 inches to the deer. If they're coming back and eating it, once a week, licking it, whatever, and it's going to add 10 or 15 inches to it. And that's what he said. So I did it this year. The Mass Wildlife guy, the biologist, said he doesn't know how many inches. It definitely adds a little bit, but what he sees that it does the most is create junk. Creates drop tines or some, just different junks and barbs coming off antlers and stuff. I didn't have that experience this year, I don't think. Well, there was one buck that had this crazy second main beam coming out, and he ended up getting killed, and you can see it on the bow hunt mass.
Dude, I have a buck where I hunt in Mass that has a second main beam.
Yep.
Well, this was last season. I haven't seen him yet this year, but I did find a salt lick in that area.
Yep.
Not far from where that community scrape was. So maybe there is something to that.
There might be, because
he was the only one though.
The first pictures I had of this buck were in May, and it was in an area where I just put a mineral lick, and it's a great picture. He's like looking at it like, what the hell? He looks like a doofus, and he's got you can tell he's got something bumping out of one side, and the opposite side.
Try to find that picture.
The opposite side main beam also has something bumping out, and I was like, this deer looks like he's going to be interesting. And a month later, he has like a pretty good, like a 6-inch second main beam starting in June. It was like June 24th, and I was like, man, this deer has a lot of potential. And he ended up becoming a pretty good deer. I have no idea what he scored, but he got shot. That's nice. Yep.
But it's like literally a second main beam with like two little points.
Yep. Junk.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I don't know. Maybe.
it's a Massachusetts wildlife biologist. I'm sure he knows a lot about animals.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to be smarter than him.
But there
that's
were
for
a
sure.
few things that he was saying that I was just like, really? Like, because we were looking at my second buck, and he was 184 pounds, and he was real thick, a lot of mass on his antlers. And I like green scored him, and I'm not good at that, but it was around 127, 128 inch buck. He was nice. And I asked him after we weigh him. I'm sitting there talking with him, and I said, what do you think if you had to guess how old is he? And he said, well, he goes, I would start at 4.5 and go from there. And I thought, yep, that's because I had pictures and videos of that buck last year. Again, when you have cameras and you're looking at cameras all the time and looking at the pictures, you can identify them pretty easily by their characteristics year after year. Yeah, there might be some big changes sometimes, but last year, this buck had the same length main beams. They curled way in, were 6 inches from touching each other in the front. And he had very similar characteristics on the rest of his rack, just a little bit shorter tines and not as much mass. But he was, to me, last year, he had a big old saggy belly and a big chest that was drooping and stuff. He was mature last year and had to have been 3.5. Just according, just by that, he was a big mature buck. If he was 2.5, he had to have been a freak genetically.
No. He probably was 4. If he's getting that, like, that droopy stomach stuff doesn't really start till they're like 4.
Exactly. So I was thinking,
it's probably 5.
5.5 this year, but 4.5. I think is the youngest. So that's what he said at first. And he said, I can take a peek if you want. Just look inside the mouth. I'm not going to pull a tooth out or something. You're going to get him, bring him to the taxidermist. But I'll pry it open and look in there if you want. So he did. And then he went, well, he goes, I think this buck is 3.5 years old. And he went through the whole, like, how you can tell. I forget exactly, but, depending on which molar, there's a point at which the molar on the bottom, the brown or dark black part becomes more prevalent than the white part of the tooth. Like there's more black than white on the inside. And if it's the third molar back, he's 3.5 or something. If it's the fourth, he's 4.5, or if it starts there. Something like that, right? But he went through the whole thing and he goes, this one, actually, I think he's only 3.5 years old. But that didn't make sense to me because he would have been a giant 2.5 last year. He was 200-pound buck at 2.5 last year. And this year at some point he was 200 pounds. You got to see the videos of his giant body. But that was just one thing. And then we start talking about genetics and antler potential, and we get into the mineral discussion and stuff. And he said that he thinks genetics has absolutely nothing to do with the antler potential of a buck. He thinks it's all age and the food. Whatever the food source is and age, and that's it. He doesn't think genetics play anything at all.
Because like
father,
all
nothing.
of Massachusetts is acorns. So like they all have the same food, kind of.
Yeah. There's a lot of acorns down here.
More or less.
And there's a lot of suburban stuff they munch on, but I don't know. I'd never heard that before. I mean, you always hear that genetics, I mean, and how could they not,
They're probably more or less like doctors where, they went to school and they studied it and they took what they, they have their own opinions.
Yeah, but
because like it can be it can be different from biologist to biologist
for sure. That's what I was gonna say. Like I think a lot of biologists will tell you genetics play a role, but
why wouldn't it?
He didn't think it did.
My dad's 6 foot. My mom's 5 foot. I'm 5.5 feet. I fell somewhere in between.
You're right in the middle.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
here's the picture of that double main beam in June.
Yep.
You see that starting?
Oh,
there?
yeah.
And he's got all this. You can tell like all the concentration of the ball of the antler. When it's a nice thick ball at the tip, there's more stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna
grow
blow
out of that.
up around freaking July.
And that was the last picture I had seen of that buck, and I had been dying all year to like see what happened to him, and then I saw that he was killed, and which I was happy to see what he turned into. Let me see if I can find that real quick. But yeah.
So these summer trail camera spots.
Yeah.
What's your strategy from there? How are you branching your cameras out based on your scouting? Like,
Yep.
Okay, so all these bucks are here in, June through August, whenever.
Yeah.
So by the time they're hardhorn, they're going to move a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably more or less be there. So how are you moving your cameras out from the summer spot to try to figure them out?
Both of these summer spots are different. One of them where I've just got cameras in there, you can't hunt it. It's on a town property, and you can't hunt any town property in my town. But
less pressure.
Less pressure. Well, I've never seen a human on cameras in there either. In this particular spot, I picked this spot because there were 3 trails going in on it. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with putting a camera there. You just can't hunt it.
Right.
But I go in there and check cameras, and there's an awesome 3 well-beaten game trails converging here, and I picked the perfect tree so that you get all of them coming in and wide angle lengths and everything. But a lot of it is kind of trial and error because I learned I put the camera there. I knew I'd get some pictures. I went in maybe a month later, and I had 4 or 5 different nice bucks starting, and they were all different. And I was like, man, this is cool. This really is a nice spot for a camera. And at that point, it's just, well, let's see what's around and inventory it. There are places you can hunt, within 500 yards of that place. There's legal places to go hunt. So, that's a great place. That they're in there safe all summer. They don't have any human intrusion except for when I go in to check my camera. But even then, they're suburban deer. They're used to smelling people. But I go in and check that, and then I had no idea what to do other than put cameras in all the other legal places that you can hunt, right? Yep. And eventually you realize that in those other places I put the cameras, I didn't get any videos or pictures of them in the summer, but when it turned to September, they did start branching out of that summer area and getting into those bigger pieces that are legal to hunt, and they would see them here and there. And then, I was in a spot that was way farther away that I really liked I honed in on late September, early October, right before the season was starting last year. And I got in there, and there was tons of sign ripped up, 20 or 30 scrapes in a short area. It was just ripped up with buck sign. And I started hunting that place a lot, not thinking that I would see any of these deer that were in that summer area. Over there, it just seemed like they weren't going to go there. There's a lot of obstacles to get there, but man, they get around all that stuff. They don't care about it. And I started seeing in November all the deer that were in that summer area. They go to this spot. So now I know for future years, whatever deer that I'm seeing in there growing, I know for a fact that they do come to this exact stand location where I killed that 9-pointer there, because he was in that summer area the whole time. He was in there with a big 8-pointer that I call the Austin buck, and then another 8-pointer that just was killed a few days ago, and I got to see him. But there were 3 of them running together. It was him, a nice big 8-pointer, and then another smaller 8-pointer. That 8-pointer turned into a 10-pointer. He's dead. The only one alive now is the Austin buck still. I saw him a few days ago, so I know he's alive. But they like to summer in there, and then you just branch out, and it's kind of trial and error from there. You just gotta learn it. You gotta hunt a few times, and once you start seeing sightings and seeing patterns, then you're in a good spot. And then there's also down over there, got some cameras in State Park for inventory purposes. Again, I just like to see where all these deer move, and pretty much all of them from that summer area, they're hitting. They're all over the place. They're 1.5 miles, 2 miles away, especially when November rolls around. So, and then that other spot is huntable. It's a summer location, but it's also huntable. So that's a unique place because I know they're in there in the summer. It has very similar characteristics to this other place, but the better part is that it's actually huntable.
You can hunt it, yeah.
So I keep that camera there all year, and I didn't hunt it much this year because you can only hunt it from the ground, and which is fine. I like ground hunting, but I sat there once or twice. I have so many buck videos in there even now, but I would think the early season, that would be a great place to go if you want to go sit on the ground, because it's, still close to the summer. They haven't started expanding their ranges, and the foliage, is still all full, and if you go in there now, it's like they can see you from a mile away. But if you go in there early season, you got a good chance.
Does it open early October here, or is it the 18th?
Yep. Yeah, here it's early October. But I'm kind of on the edge of Zone 9 and 10.
Yep.
So Zone 9 and all the other ones west of that open the 18th. But
right.
Yeah, I can hunt the early season, which is sweet. I never, that first buck I got the third day of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got footage of that.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I mean.
Yeah, I got really good footage of that one.
Kill shot and everything.
Yep. I'm still surprised I got that deer. It was such a bad shot.
It didn't seem it though, but of course it,
but
footage.
Like when you slow it down and look, it looked like I thought I completely
by
missed him.
The sounds of it though.
I know. That's something where, like, in the heat of the moment, I should have known the sound it made plus the donkey kick. Like, I don't know how I thought I missed him, but in the heat of the moment, I was just watching that footage and going, Jesus, I missed him to the left. Like, how? Like, it was in.
Because you hit that branch.
There was a branch there. I had to lean to the left, but it was like a foot off that I missed him, or 18 inches to the left of where I was aiming. So when I came back that night and shot back here in my yard to make sure everything was on, and it was. It was, so. It must have just been leaning, but ended up getting him. Yeah, but that buck I had in that summer area where you can hunt, but I realized that camera started drying up around, again, September. Like, they stop eating all the green browse and stuff that's in that CRP type, terrain that camera was at, and they like to start going. The acorns were dropping pretty early this year. Yep. And I just knew that he had vanished from there, and then from other scouting and Onyx waypoints and stuff, I know where all the oaks are, and it's not too far from there, and I just guessed he's probably down there. I didn't have a camera in there this year, but I was like, he's not showing up here, so I know where he isn't, and the acorns are dropping, and I know he's probably just going to be down on that acorn ridge. So that the wind was right the morning I ended up going in there to kill him, to go check that acorn ridge. And I wasn't really just going in for him. There were 2 or 3 really nice bucks that were in that summer area, and that were not on the camera once September rolled around. So there were a few in the area. It wasn't like I was going in there just to kill them. But I go down to that acorn ridge. I have a game plan. I'm trying to get to this community scrape that I have down there that I had a camera on all last year, but I didn't have it live yet this year. I wanted to get down there for the first time, brought a camera with me to put up there and everything. So I was going to hunt, get in my stand, hunt the morning. If I didn't see anything, get down, put the camera on that community scrape so I'd have one. And I just had, since I hadn't been in there, I had, the trail was different. Last year, the trail was like cut, brush hogged, and it was nice to get down. Like, most of the walk was pretty easy. This year, none of it was cut. Everything was overgrown because we had so much rain. It was real thick.
Yep.
I was up to my knees in, mucky. It was really wet early season, just up to my knees in mud. And I got to about 300 or 400 yards away from where I wanted to, and it started getting daylight. And when that happens to me, I freak out. I'm like, I should be in a tree, not making noise right now, right? So I switched my game plan up and just climbed up into a tree. And I hate doing that. I would like to get to where where my game plan is, but I got up into the tree. I was texting my buddy Chris, who was hunting not far from me. He was kind of still more up in that summery area in a tripod stand that I had up there, and he was sitting in that. And I texted him that morning when I got up there. I was like, man, I didn't get to where I wanted to go. I'm in a shitty spot. I'm looking
just
around.
all bummed out.
Yeah, I'm looking around. There's no oaks anywhere. Like, there's no bedding. Like, I was just like, this is a bad spot. There's no reason for deer to be here. He was just
you have your climber?
Yeah, I was in my climber. And he was like, nah, dude, you're probably going to see something, dude. You're probably going to kill a buck. Like, because he's that guy. We've had luck together, I shot my first freaking racked buck the first day I met him. Then I got him some luck with a 6-pointer, and he was like, nah, you're probably going to see something. Like, you're fine. And I was like, nah, dude, there's no oaks, man. My whole plan was to get down here in these oaks.
I came for the oaks.
I came to the Oak Ridge to get in the oaks, and I didn't even get there. But yeah, that's, what was it, like 6:45? I think it was 6:45 a.m. I'm sitting there like an idiot on my phone.
Spot sucks.
Yeah, spot sucks. I'm like reading Boston Bowhunter, and somebody was complaining about something. And there's like a big comment thread, and I was reading through all of those. And I hear a twig snap to my right. Just slowly look down. I'm like, Jesus, that's a freaking nice buck right there. And he's right on me. He was like right under me. It was so quiet. You know, the leaves were, it was a super wet day. And it wasn't windy at all, though. So, that's how I heard that twig snap.
When he broke that twig, did he stop?
I don't know, because I take a long time to turn.
Right.
When I hear shit. You know,
but I wonder if when they do that, because like, you know, we do that.
Mm-hmm.
We break a branch, we'll stop. I wonder if they do the same thing when they're trying to sneak.
Probably sometimes.
And they screw up, they just stop.
Yeah.
Radar ears.
Probably sometimes, yeah. But he did that, and I slowly turned. It probably took 4 seconds before I got eyes on him. And he was, what I thought at the time was like 7 yards away, but I ranged it after. He was 14 yards away, just perfect, beautiful broadside, where maybe if I wasn't on my phone, I would have, seen him or been able to get set up before that. But he was already on me, and there was nothing in between me and him. And so I was worried that if I grabbed my bow,
oh yeah,
he's, so I'm just staying exactly still. I hate it because he's right there, a perfect shot, but I have to in that moment not do anything. But I had my phone out because I was, stupidly reading Facebook, and opened to my camera, turned the camera on. I have it's just my iPhone, but that's what I've been filming with because it's so much easier than carrying equipment.
Oh, I know.
And I
snapped, you don't want to carry another 40 pounds with
mount. You? I did, actually. I had my stuff with me that morning. That's one of the reasons I had my climber on my back. I had all my new camera equipment. I was all gung-ho, ready to like set up my camera arm and do that. But it would just ended up
just 911 into a tree. I was
sweating so bad. I had to get into a tree quick. I got up there and I was like, I'm not setting that shit up. And so it stayed in there.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting my camera up and on my phone up into the mount and snapping it in and turning it slowly and doing all that, like I always say, like move like a sloth. I'm doing all that sloth-like. So because any sudden movement, he would have been on me. And he let me do it. He didn't see me while I did it. So I had to wait and watch him. Perfect 14, 15 yards, broadside. And he turned and quartered perfectly too. I had to wait for him to get behind a tree. But he was on a pretty good mission. He wasn't just slowly going through. He got behind a tree. I stood up and grabbed my bow, put the release on, and he was still walking, quartering away. And he got to a point. I already pre-ranged all my spots. And he got to this nice opening spot, 25, that I pre-ranged at 25 yards, and I gave him the mat, and he stopped there and drew and let go right away, and just freaking looked like I missed him to the left completely, and I was bummed. But he did donkey kick, and he did hear a snap, and it broke his shoulder, his left shoulder. It went in through the back of the left shoulder and came out through the front of it. So I didn't hit a vital. At first, I thought, because when I ended up going down to check, I thought that the arrow deflected and maybe went through a vital. Like, you could tell it went through the shoulder, and I thought maybe it deflected right and down, and maybe clipped the heart or something, but it didn't. What ended up happening is I clipped an artery in there, and it wasn't like the main artery. It wasn't a carotid artery or anything like that, but when we quartered him out, you could see that it clipped an artery that fed out of one of the main arteries, and it was a good thick one. There was a thick blood trail, but it wasn't a main artery. I just got lucky. He lost enough blood. He got groggy. That's how I ended up recovering him eventually. But I was sitting in the tree. I was dejected. I thought I completely missed him, and pulled up the binoculars like 20 minutes later just for, sitting up there bored and looking at the arrow where I shot him, and I think I could see blood through my binoculars. So I was like, I should get down and check this out. And yeah, it was real thick blood. And you guys can watch the video on YouTube. I mean, it's a long story. It took me 27 hours to find him. I jumped him one time out of a bed. I would stop and wait for a couple hours and then get on him again. And just a long story, but he ended up being I was so happy to find him the next day, you know. He's doing
beautiful buck.
Doing an
chocolate rack.
Yeah, chocolate rack. Yep, and probably right around 125. I don't know. It might be Pope and Young, might not be. If he is, he's my first Pope and Young buck, and I'm super happy about it.
Yep. Yeah, he's a beautiful deer.
Yep.
And you got that, what, did you weigh him?
I didn't weigh him. I wish I did now, but the coyotes had took out a good piece of him, so I just didn't think it'd be worth it to even weigh him. But he was, now that I think about it, like, I dragged both those. I mean, Chris Alberini helped me drag that one out. Actually, he helped me drag the other one out too, but I did more dragging myself on the second one. And the second one felt like nothing, but he ended up weighing 184 pounds. And this one I remember feeling heavier. He could have been a 200-pound deer, and it was early in the season. I mean, he was heavy. Even with the coyotes taking chunks out, he could have been 200 pounds. I should have weighed him.
Yeah. Let's talk about the second one. The second one was like wicked thick mass. Like it looked like a Maine buck.
Yeah.
Like those thick bladed like Maine bucks.
Yeah. He was a buck that so I don't know if I had this one last year.
Are you getting the second one shoulder mounted, or are you doing a...
Yeah, I'm getting them shoulder mounted. And I do want to get this one shoulder mounted too, but the cape was ruined. But I have my two
Euros
COVID.
are cool.
It is cool. You can take it anywhere. Shit. Just drop the mixer here. You can take your Euros anywhere and get your hands on them and pass it around, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I've got my two COVID bucks up there, which represents the leap that I took to, you know, those two bucks that are up there, they're not giant bucks, but they're my two best bucks, and
I wouldn't pass them.
They happened that COVID year, and it was the first year I told myself, like, I'm going to pass deer, and I passed I think 20 bucks before I shot those two. I passed so many 4s and 5s and little 6s and spikes, and I passed a lot of does even too early season. So I wanted to get those two mounted, although now I wish I got those two Euro'd, I think. And would love to get...
you got a lot of wall space.
Yeah. And I would love to get these two now, kind of, because it's another leap up, you know. The two I got this year are another one step up than those ones. And I think it would tell a cool story once I actually do get a nice man cave someday, and I can have enough space for all the stuff I love to do. I'd love to.
If you're hunting in this area, man, you're gonna need some space. It's a lot of deer.
Yeah. Massachusetts is it's just so funny because I would have never thought that Massachusetts was a good hunting area. Just never thought it. Never gave it any second thought.
I always knew it was good. It was just that no Sunday thing deterred me.
Yep. It's one of those things I don't mind.
I live close enough, you know, and you just got to use vacation. That's all it is.
Yeah. And I'm fortunate enough that I'm working from home, so I do get the mornings and the evenings until you do daylight savings, and then you don't get the evenings anymore.
Right.
But yeah, you get, it's great. You get to hunt instead of commute in the morning, right? So I don't really have to take vacation days, and I do go after it pretty hard when I can, so that I don't mind that Sunday to be able to recoup and spend with the family. But I know most people out there that hunt don't have that.
Right. There's a lot of things they could do to experiment with it. They could take away a buck tag. They could They could leave the 2 buck tags but shorten the gun seasons. They could extend the archery season. You know, there's a lot of stuff they could do to just at least try and experiment with it.
Yep.
Which Pennsylvania has made leaps towards that. I'd love to see Massachusetts do the same. I know it would make a huge influx of hunters into the state, but let's face it, they're a bow-only state through the best part of the year, right through the rut.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what's unique about it. Because
Mass introduces Sunday hunting, nobody's going to go out and buy a bow. It's not happening. Yeah. You're either a bow hunter or you're not. So I don't think it would have an adverse effect. Like I said, maybe take away a buck tag. Maybe take away a buck tag for non-residents.
Yep.
Let mass residents still have 2 buck tags.
Yep.
Shorten the gun seasons. I don't know. Just try something.
I know I would hate it if it went down. It's cool having 2 buck tags, and I like it. And it's one of the unique things about. I mean, I think New Hampshire's even more. You have 3, right? You can kill 3 bucks.
Yeah. Well,
different weapons, but
you have to be a bow hunter.
Yeah.
If you're a gun hunter,
right,
you get 1 deer.
Yeah.
Not 1 buck, 1 deer.
Yeah. But you can get
done.
2 bucks with a bow.
2 bucks with a bow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Or 2 bucks, or you can get a doe. Yeah. They don't have doe permits. What they have is
2 deer limit.
2 deer limit for bow, and then 1 for gun. Mm-hmm. And the way they do it is it depends what zone, but the first 3 days of muzzleloader is basically brownest down. It's open to any deer.
Yep.
And then the first 2 days of rifle is open to any deer. So you got your old timers who just want to meet deer. They can go shoot a doe with their rifle on opening day. They're not bow hunters. They don't.
Yep.
But if you're a bow hunter, yeah, you can get 3.
That's
and they
cool.
can all be antlered.
Yeah, I really want to start hunting New Hampshire a little bit more too, in Rhode Island, because, again, I say I don't mind the Sunday rule here because I get a little break. But if Sunday was opened up, which New Hampshire would offer that, or Rhode Island,
yeah,
then I can go. Like right now, I'm out of buck tags here. I would still like to be bow hunting. I think next year either New Hampshire or Rhode Island I'll do that. But
yep.
It is unique. The unique thing about Massachusetts is there is no gun season until usually December. I mean, the gun season this year started November, I think 29th, but
usually it's a Monday after Thanksgiving, right?
Yep. So all the best hunting times, the rut, pre-rut,
it's all bow. That's why they have these hammer bucks.
Yep.
It's a bow only state.
It's a really good age class state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think I read, I forget what it is, but in the Northeast, Massachusetts has the most percentage of 3.5-year-olds and higher. When you look at the annual buck harvest by state and the age class in it, it's pretty much, I think, 33% bucks over 3.5. Something in Vermont, it's might be 10 or 15%. Maybe 10% or 3.5-year-old.
-9.
Yeah, it's really bad age class. But here it's a third of the bucks killed are mature.
And the buck to doe, I can't speak for all of Vermont, but I know where I used to hunt a lot is highly, highly skewed towards does. Sunday, that's what I'm gonna go try to do. Is I got a doe tag.
Yep.
I'm gonna go try to fill it, and I'm not even kidding. It might even be 8-1.
Yeah.
And what the
That's
bad
what
thing
in my deer camp.
The bad thing about that is the does don't all get bred, so they keep coming into estrus until they get bred. So they get bred in February, and that's why you see these spotted fawns in October. Those fawns don't grow up big enough to make the winter, and they die. Mm-hmm. It's
bunch of weird stuff going on.
Yeah, it's not good. It's people if you live in
plus if there's
southeastern Vermont,
yeah,
please participate in the doe harvest.
Yeah,
because I know there's not a lot of deer, but we need to knock some of the does down because
think about it, dude. Think about it if it was if we were in a place where we were outnumbered by women 8-1,
right,
in the prime of our
yeah,
our rut, right?
Yeah,
we would be going nuts.
Dead.
You run yourself ragged, and that's what if that's happening in Vermont, if it's those bucks,
yeah,
they don't even get a break, and there's no competition,
mm-hmm.
So
and then you do that, and you stack on a hard winter, which we haven't had. We've had easy winters the last 4.
Yeah,
but you stack on a hard winter.
All of that probably contributes to why their antlers aren't that great up there.
Yeah. Only the strong survive. But yeah, I'd like to see him do something with the Sunday thing, but at the same time,
and then
I get why they don't. I guess it's
Well, the reason
it's
that
something
it's
to do
there,
with the age structure and the pressure, because
Yeah.
weekends get the most pressure.
but the reason it's there historically is the old.
Historically
is
is BS. Yeah.
yeah, it's like religious. Right. Sunday is the day of
But I heard
going to church.
the main wildlife biologist talk about it, and he made some good points about pressure and what it would do to the harvest. That's why I say like they should compromise and like take away a buck tag or shorten the gun seasons or whatever. At the same time, see how the harvest rate gets affected for one season.
Yeah.
And then make adjustments from there.
But at the same time, why? I mean, I wouldn't care either way if Sunday hunting was added, but if Massachusetts has the best age class structure and
why change it?
Buck to doe structure right now, yeah, why really change it, Because going back to what you're saying about buck to doe ratio, this year, I think the first like 12 or 15 deer that I saw, something like that, were bucks. Like it wasn't exactly that, because the second day I went and saw I think 5 does, and there's a video on my YouTube page of this doe that just followed me.
Oh yeah,
she followed me like the whole day. It was weird. And but after that, I just couldn't see a doe. I couldn't buy a doe. Like I was seeing bucks everywhere, and most of them were ones I wanted to pass. I saw a couple mature bucks that were just way out of range, chasing does early November. But yeah, there's just like, it's unheard of, and it's just a crazy difference than what you would experience in Vermont. I would have never dreamed growing up hunting at my Vermont deer camp that
you could see this many deer.
Yeah, the type of action that I'm seeing sometimes is just I would have never thought it would even be possible. Seeing 5 or 6 bucks in the same day and no does, and even though they didn't get any shots off, just seeing that many deer, that many bucks in one day, it's crazy. Buck to doe ratio here is great.
Yeah. I guess my affliction with it is tracking, because we'll get like a Friday night storm and I'll go out Saturday and I know Sunday's going to be good, and it's like, damn it. Can't be there. But yeah, what they're doing's working, so I guess maybe just stick to it. But I don't know. There's just such outdated laws that.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't mind it, but who knows what it would do. It would definitely. I mean, what it would definitely do is increase the harvest.
Yep. Because
I think a good majority of the hunters, probably 75% of the hunters in the state, are weekend warrior hunters who have a job the whole week, full-time job, and they can't get out, and they have 1 day a week to hunt, Saturday, and if you double that, you're gonna get a really big increase in harvest.
Right.
So that's good, because especially in some zones where we have too many deer, right? You do want more deer killed, but who knows what that would do to the age class and the buck to doe ratio.
Right. You'd have to compromise somehow by shortening a season or taking away a tag or whatever. You'd have to, for the first year, you'd have to compromise.
Open it to doe only on Sunday. That could be kind of cool.
Go to an earn a buck state.
Yeah, that's cool too. I like the earn a buck thing. I think New Jersey is that way.
Yep. A lot of states are like that.
Are they? Yeah. Yeah.
But
we were talking about West Virginia earlier, and it's I don't know why. It's just, well, I listened to the East Meets West podcast. And
shout out to Bo.
Who's the guy? And Bo. But who's the guy that was on from West Virginia?
Jason Ilderton from the Untamed.
Yep. Guy's got an epic accent. This is like Hal. Like you just want to listen to him because it sounds cool. And
I did a stint down in Virginia at line school. And
yeah,
I don't know. A lot of people up here don't like the Southern accent. I don't mind it.
West Virginians,
them good old boys.
West Virginians are just Vermonters.
Yeah,
they just talk
a little slower.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many similarities. Just a tiny state, bunch of rednecks, super rural, no big cities.
Yeah.
But and their mountains are rugged down there.
Oh yeah.
But listening to those guys talk about hunting the 4 counties that are bow hunting only in West Virginia, because on the flip side, one of my butchers up here that I dropped this last buck off at, that guy's killed some giant deer, and he's killed so many where it's just like, He's telling me the stories. He doesn't really get super up or down about deer hunting anymore. He's killed so many big ones. But I was talking to him about these 4 counties in West Virginia that are bow hunting only, and he goes, "Oh, I used to go down to West Virginia," but he was not in those bow hunting only. He'd go down for rifle season, and he'd say the amount of, like, every freaking deer there was running around was a 1.5-year-old 8-pointer that was 125 pounds, like where he was at.
Yeah.
And they just shot everything. It's so similar to Vermont, but better genetics because they had 8-point 1.5 years.
Right.
And he said, man, it sounded like freaking World War II every morning. I mean, the amount of shots are insane. And he said he would see 25 bucks or so that were all exactly the same, 8-point 1.5 years, 125 pounds on the first day. He'd see like 25 of those deer. Like, that's how he was explaining it to me. But if you go further south, it's bow hunting only. So obviously you're going to get some big mature bucks, and it's really tough terrain there. So I started watching the Untamed YouTube channel, and now it's just in my head. It's planted there that that's a cool place to go. Maybe try to do an out-of-state hunt at.
I think Tennessee would be good too.
Yeah, definitely.
Like watching like Catman.
Yeah.
Like hunting out of a boat.
Yeah.
All those river systems that flow through there, especially for turkey hunting. Like something about roosting birds from a boat.
Mm-hmm. That would be super cool.
I think I'm going to make my way down there for turkey hunting for sure, and then would like but scout for deer while I was there.
Yep.
But yeah, Tennessee just seems like a good all around state.
That was one that came up on the list too, and I'm thinking like, what's a little underrated, under the radar state?
Watch out for cottonmouths.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I did some scouting when I was down in Virginia, and they were like, "Yep, watch every step." I was like, "Shit."
But then go Google how many people die of a cottonmouth bite. Probably not many.
Not many. It'd be me though.
But
Vermont guy dies in.
Well, we don't have cottonmouths. We got timber rattlers up there, and they can kill you.
Yeah.
Especially around my deer camp. Those slate quarries and stuff. They like to live in there. But like, that's what's great about hunting in the U.S. is all the different, like Tennessee, going through the river systems and stuff. That's one way, and that would be fun as hell to go do that. Or you can go to West Virginia, to these southern 4 counties, and hunt the steep ridges and canyons and old coal mines that are filled in and turned into natural food plots. Go do that. You can come up Maine and track and
the West,
whatever. The freaking,
like
and not
Montana,
even talking about the West. Yeah.
Alaska.
Oh man,
there's like 15 different worlds you can hunt.
Yep. Every state's got something different.
Yep. That's you've said it before on this podcast, or not this one, yours, but that's what's great about the Northeast.
We're so close to all the different borders, especially you. You're on a 3 border.
Yeah, it took me an hour and a half, hour 45 to get here.
Yeah. There was a time where I used to think that was a long drive, but that's nothing.
That's nothing. No, it's 3 hours, 3.5 hours, Timmy's deer camp.
Yeah, and that's nothing. To me, like anything under 4 hours is like a pretty simple,
it's a day trip.
If you can listen to a Rogan podcast start to finish, and and it's finishing when you're pulling in, then it's
not
perfect.
A long drive.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
because that's the best thing about podcasts too. Like we were talking earlier. Like, you used to have to read an article or something, or read books to go learn something, and that's something that you can't multitask when you're reading a book. You can't read a book and mow the lawn. Can't read a book and fold laundry and
run on a treadmill,
whatever. Podcast is like, that's why podcasts took off, and why I just listened the crap out of them, because you can do it while doing other stuff, and it makes driving better. I don't give a shit about listening to pop radio anymore.
Yeah, and like reruns of Motley Crue.
Just learn something,
Same old situation again.
Yeah.
Oh, sick. But yeah, no, that's the reason I started it, was just to try, like we said, to like.
Yeah, say you must have been a big listener of podcasts for years, right?
Yep.
And the barrier
the
to
hunting
entry,
ones I've kind of dug into more the last like few years.
Yeah.
Like big woods, and then I heard about yours from Timmy, discovered bows.
Yeah.
When they put them out, I like listen to the Live Free and Hunt guys.
Yeah.
They don't put them out super often, but they're all just a bunch of good dudes sit around by the wood stove drinking beer and shooting the shit.
Yeah, I love their podcast too.
There's a bunch of others I'm spacing on, but
they better be coming to Hunt Stock. They gave me the thumbs up, and I just think it'll be so fun. Get a bunch of...
I'm psyched on that.
Bunch of podcasts to get... Like, the idea in my head started out that way. It's like, let's just get all the guys...
I was cracking up when you said Hunt Stock, too. That cracked me up.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it going to be in Vermont?
To be fair, Pat Burns came up with that name. Pat is such a creative dude. He's a rapper, right? And he still actually writes rap lyrics for some famous rappers. And, you know, we're not going to say who or what, but he writes rap lyrics for people. He's creative, and him and I just bounce ideas off each other. So this idea has been mine. That's been stewing in my head for a long time, but I was just debating on what to call it. And he was just like, Hunt Stock, dude. Hunt Stock. Woodstock for hunters, man. It's just, the vision was like to just get a bunch of people traveling to one area, outdoors. I know there's like indoor sports shows and stuff, and there's convention centers. And
but this can be like...
This is like outdoors where we love to be as hunters.
Feel.
Yeah. Before the season starts. And the idea was like, well, let's just invite all the people who create content together. All of the, that creates like... You go live the whole weekend. You can do 5 or 6 podcasts, 10 podcasts over 3 days or whatever. So for the podcasters, you get to build a lot of content and stack it up. You have all the best hunters in the Northeast coming to one spot anyway, so you have all the guests that you'd ever want there. Yeah. Right? So you just get, pull in whoever you want to, whenever you want to, talk to them. Hey, come by at 5 o'clock. We're going to do one, go live. People who are coming as, attendees can walk along and stop at Mountain Deer Podcast and see what those guys are talking about and who they're talking to and meet the guys that they watch and listen to. Or they can go another 20, 30 yards and Big Woods Bucks is live on a podcast, right? And that's just how I first envisioned it. And it kind of expanded from there into doing 3D archery courses and stuff too, and getting a bunch of sponsors and exhibitors out there, doing some seminars, the same way that you would in an indoor sportsman show and stuff. But I just think it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm down.
I just think it'll be great.
It sounds like a good time.
Everybody together.
Because, everybody's been deprived of it for, 2 years now.
Yep.
Any sort of thing like this.
Yep.
All the sportsman shows got taken away.
Yep.
Of course, I think you said we'll have the Springfield show this winter, right?
Yep. I'm going to be down at the Springfield show next to the Northeast Big Buck Club. I was talking with their show owner today. It's going to be a big show. He said he's got so many tickets sold already. I mean, people haven't been able to go for a few years, so it's going to be probably one of the bigger shows they've done in a while.
That's January?
It's February. February, I think, 24th, 25th, and 26th in Springfield. Yeah. So go down there, and maybe you'll come down because there's talks of maybe doing a mini microcosm of what I envision Hunt Stock to be there, and have it kind of be, maybe we do a few different have a few podcasters down there going live, and have Boston Bowhunter there, and some of the other folks that are going to help kind of promote this idea. So that could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody, if you're in the Northeast, get on down to Springfield, Mass, and
come down to that
check that show out.
Yep.
Check out Pat's YouTube page. He's got great content going up there. You can see that mishit buck.
Yeah, I still
the 27-hour job.
Yeah,
he's on there. Check out his podcast.
Yeah, the second buck video is up there, but most it's earlier in the morning, kind of the lead up and then the recovery. But that video is up there too.
Yep.
And and go to that sportsman show, and because we're gonna probably have some really good deals on tickets to Hunt Stock there that you're not gonna be able to get online. So if you're in person there, and get tickets early at that show.
And Hunt Stock, we're looking at August of next year.
Yep. Not set in stone yet, but August 12th, 13th, and 14th is what we're planning on, and in Westminster, Massachusetts. So not 100% on everything yet. No signed contract on the venue, but those guys are awesome. We're working towards like finalizing everything, getting a date on the board, and putting it out. By the time this is out, it might already be live. So,
all right.
So that's that.
All right. So we'll hopefully have a buck down tomorrow.
Yeah, man. I'm excited.
Or a story of a miss.
Yeah. Well, let's go crack a brewski, sit on the couch, and strategize on where we're going to go.
Sounds good, fella.
All right, brother.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. Make sure and come back and join us every other Monday with a brand new episode. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure and leave a review. And you can find me on YouTube at Northeast Hunt and Film. Once again, thanks for listening.